Okay. Welcome everybody to this second session in the series of butterfly talks for the Big Butterfly Month. I am Subhadra. I work with NCF and I have Jignasa who was reading out all the butterfly names now, helping out. Ashok Sen Gupta will introduce us to the butterflies of South India in the talk. Fluttering Jewels, Know Your Butterflies. Ashok is a member of Indian Foundation of Butterflies and also a founder member of the Bangalore Butterfly Club. He's interested in butterfly ecology and population dynamics. He has co-authored many papers on butterflies in international journals. He is actively involved in spreading awareness about butterflies and their importance to the world we live in. He is teaching computer science in KV in Bangalore. Over to you, Ashok.
Thank you, Subhadra. Good morning, all of you. So now almost 44 have joined this meeting, and hope that we will sail through the next 1.5 hours, and maybe 1 hour. I'll try to finish it. I will, before I start, let me tell you one thing that see, there's a huge list of butterflies. I cannot cover each and everything here. So what I have done basically, I have selected 3 families of butterflies to introduce here, and rest 2, one of them will be taken by me on 19th of same month, next Sunday, the Clues for Blues. That will be specifically for Lysinides or the blues, and one will be taken by Dr. Kalesh Sadashivan on skippers. So those 2 groups I am deliberately avoiding because we have a constraint of time. So let us begin our journey. Since there are very newcomers to this group, and some experienced people are also there, so I won't directly jump into introduction and identification of butterflies. Rather, I will do what? I will take you to the ABCD of butterflies, and then from there quickly I will jump into the real identification of butterflies. Thank you very much, and let me share the screen. I think you can see my screen.
Yes, Ashok.
Thank you very much. So let us just go into a journey of knowing your butterflies, the butterflies of peninsular India. I will be taking mostly of South Indian butterflies. Okay. Now, so this is an introductory page, the jewels of nature, and we all are fascinated by its colors and its life and its wings, the metamorphosis, everything we are fascinated about. And you know, they are the role models for beauty, and they maintain the balance of nature by providing important means for pollination and also acting as a link in the food chain for many animals. And now, why butterflies are valuable? I always introduce this particular frame for the newcomers. See, like every individual on earth, butterflies too have the right to live. So we have to honor that and try to protect them from unnecessary killing and storing. And then they are the beauty spots in the nature. They're having the aesthetic value. They have got educational values, scientific values, being the model organism for research. They are the indicators of healthy ecosystems. Butterflies watching gives us good health, and also a butterfly ecotourism, which is now a recent hot cake in various states, especially the states of Northeast, where butterfly ecotourism is coming up very well. So these are the importance of butterflies. Why should we call a butterfly a very valuable insect? Now, how it's different from a moth? So moths and butterflies, they are actually closely related insects, and they are the sister groups among the Lepidoptera, the order Lepidoptera. Whereas the moths are, more than lakhs of species of moths are there, and every day new moths are getting discovered. Butterflies are specialized, basically moths, and they have evolved during the evolution period, and they have some specialized characters. And the first difference between butterflies and moths is the presence of the club antenna, which is in butterflies, and the feathery antenna in moths. That's how generally we distinguish an adult butterfly from a moth. Generally, butterflies are day flyers and moths are nocturnals. But of course, there are borderline cases where moths are also day flyers. But we have not seen a butterfly which basically flies in the night. Mostly 100% butterflies till now is known to our science. They are day flyers. Some of the butterflies, of course, they are active during dusk and dawn, but none in the night. They are butterflies having thinner bodies as compared to moths. However, again, there are butterflies which are having thicker bodies, especially the skippers. Now, butterflies pupate in a hard chrysalis called, and moths pupate inside a cocoon. Of course, both pupas are hard, but moth pupas are not seen because they are inside the silk cocoon. And generally, butterflies tend to rest on open wings, closed wings, and moths rest on closed wings, but open wings. But these also things, there are some moths which also have closed wing perch, and butterflies also having open wing perches. Okay, so that's how we differentiate butterflies in general. For a newcomer, that is sufficient for one to learn. As you go dive into butterflies, you will learn more. Now, these butterflies in India are classified into the 6 families. We have got the Perlonidae, the swallowtail, the biggest butterflies. We'll see them around also. We have got the yellows and whites, the pyrids, the nymphalids, the brush-footed butterflies, the lysinids, which consist of blues, corpus, and hairstreaks, and Rhododendron, the metal mark butterflies, which includes the Judies and metal marks. The Hesperidae, the skipper butterflies, which includes swifts, bobs, supers, lancers, owlets, darts, flats, and angles. So these are the 6 families of butterflies, and you can see one species from each family here. We have a blue mormon and a black raja. Blue mormon is basically from the swallowtail family. The black raja is from the nymphalidae family. The Judies, the suffused double-banded Judies, basically from the metal marks, and the Judies. And the pioneer is from the yellows and whites. The fluffy teeth is from the blues, and we have a smaller dotlet from the family of skippers. So these are the 6 families. Now, some stats on butterflies. Now we have got till now more than about 18,000 species of butterflies around us. And out of that, undivided India had 1,501 species as per the early discoveries done by the Britishers. But presently, after the separation of Nepal, Pakistan, and Burma, Bhutan, we have 1,200 plus species of butterflies in India. But if we include subspecies, it may go up to 1,800. Our Western Ghat has got 342 species of butterflies, and there are a few entries which are doubtful. We have not witnessed the square-banded bounty, and even the blue baron till now. For photographic records of blue baron and square-banded bounty are not there, and we also have included in the recent past a few butterflies that includes the purple spotted flitter and the restricted spotted flat in the checklist of Western Ghats, which were earlier not there. So you can see these 2 photographs I have taken with permission from I Found Butterflies with due citation. Top we can see the restricted spotted flat, and bottom we can see the purple spotted flitter. Of course, recently there was a report of common tit from somewhere in Vibhuti Falls near Sirsi in Karnataka. So that is also an amazing record, an interesting record. We have never seen and never known about the common tit being discovered in Western Ghats. Eastern Ghats are also very amazing in the butterfly biodiversity, but a lot has to be done to explore the Eastern Ghats. So butterflies like great nawab, blue nawab, painted courtesan, marbled back, vagrant dart, and many more species are basically discovered. They have been found in Eastern Ghats, especially Chhattisgarh and somewhere in some places of Andhra Pradesh. So and Odisha also, we find them, and it's very interesting. And if some people go around those areas and explore, they can find some wonders, which are basically butterflies generally found in the Northeast. Now, butterflies morphology, you see butterflies have got 4 wings with miniature scales, and they have got hexapod, 6 legs, and in the brush-footed butterflies, in the males, the front pair of legs are reduced, so they generally walk on 4 legs, but they have got 6 legs. The body has got 3 segments: the head, thorax, and the abdomen, and mainly they are all exoskeletons. Butterflies' eyes are compound, and they also have a pair of antennae, 2 sets. And the most important part is their proboscis, from which through which they can basically get the nectar or the food which they eat or drink rather. Okay, so this is about the morphology of butterflies. Quickly I have discussed, most of you know it. And we come to the life cycle of butterfly. I'll say that butterflies go through an amazing metamorphosis from the egg to larva to pupa and then to the adult butterfly. So this process is very amazing, and one child which witnesses that, that this process of forming of a butterfly from egg to adult is spectacular, and a lot of learning is involved in that. There are various types of types of eggs, larvae, and pupae depending upon the family and the species. And of course, there are various, there are certain those larvae which are protected by ants. So that's a symbiotic relationship between ants and caterpillars, especially of the families of blues. You can see at the bottom left corner, there is a caterpillar of red spot being attended by weaver ants. Some of the caterpillars are gregarious in nature. They feed together. But some of the caterpillars are cannibalistic. They can eat each other to survive. So these are some of the life cycle phases of butterflies. Various types of eggs and pupae are being and larvae are being displayed here. It's okay. It will take some time to dive into this. I will not delay much into takes much time into the life cycle part. It's a story which can be told in the future in a different talk. Now, there's a beautiful concept of mimicry in butterflies. What actually happens in mimicry? There are 3 types of mimicry being observed. One is called Battisian mimicry, one is called Mullerian mimicry, and this automimicry. So you can see I've displayed here the Battisian mimicry, where we have got left top is a plain tiger and right top is a crimson rose. The plain tiger and crimson rose are unpalatable butterflies. They have no natural enemies. The bigger enemies like birds and lizards, they will not eat them because they are distasteful due to the fact that the larval stage, they feed upon some poisonous plants like this plain tiger feeds on calotropis, and this crimson rose feeds on Aristolochia. So those are poisonous plants, and they carry the poison in their body as an adult, and so they don't have any natural. Suppose there are some specialized predators like your mantis and praying mantis and spiders. They don't care about these poisonous feature of these butterflies. They'll happily predate on any butterfly they catch hold of. Now this poisonous butterflies, look at the looks of the poisonous butterflies are mimicked by some non-poisonous butterflies. In bottom, there is a Danide X-fly female. You can see that it almost resembles the plain tiger in flight, in behavior, and it looks also. So a Danide X-fly male, which is black in color, I will show it to you in a short while. But this identified female, which is orange in color, they are slow flyers. The male is the fast flyer and the female is the slow flyer. It mimics in every aspect the behaviors, the external behaviors of the plain tiger. And it has happened by nature for them. This identified to evade and to massacre itself from getting predated by the predators who otherwise will eat that. Similarly, with common mormon, you can see that the form, Romulus form of common mormon is basically which is mimicking the crimson rose. So that's the same thing, same story. Crimson rose also flies very leisurely, and so the common mormon female flies leisurely because they mimic the model. This model, the upper two are the models, the bottom two are the mimics. There's of course that is called automimicry, where some of the body parts resemble something else. So if you see the blue oak leaf, I'll show you to later. Blue oak leaf resembles a dry leaf, and some of the blues have a false pair of eyes at their back, and that also they rest with their heads very still, but they will keep on wagging their tail to actually mislead a predator who will otherwise attack the head. So if they attack the tail, they can escape easily, and they have a broken tail, but they will survive the day. This is the mimicry part. The habits and habitat: butterflies mainly feed on nectar, but some of the butterflies are known to feed on rotten food, tree sap, decaying flesh, dung, and dissolved mineral in the sweat, sand, and mud. Male butterflies actually they love to mud puddle, and they will congregate in the near stream beds, and they will take the salt from the minerals from the sand and mixed with water, and then that will be used for passing on to the female during reproduction. And the crows and tigers are also fond of alkaloids from plants like Protolaria, where they feed on and suck on those alkaloids, and that also is actually make them more poisonous by sucking because of the alkaloids. And butterflies basically are found everywhere, mostly in the tropical and regions. However, they have been seen up to the altitude of 6,000 meters. In Himalayas, we have Apollos and some high altitude butterflies which can live in the cold weather and the climate conditions at the heights of 6,000 meters. So this is about the habits and habitat. They're found in cities, gardens, and rivers, forests, deserts. Everywhere butterflies are there. Now, butterflies show a very unique, ritual every year. They migrate. In Western Ghats, butterflies are known to migrate from the Western Ghats to Eastern Ghats, and Eastern Ghats to Western Ghats. During monsoon, they come from Western Ghats because of heavy monsoon and go to Eastern Ghats and breed there. And the next generation comes back from the Eastern Ghats to the Western Ghats in the month of September, October. This time around, because of rains, this reverse migration is a little slow, but as soon as the rain will stop, they will definitely go back to Western Ghats. Similarly, there are other migrations in Western Ghats, as is indicated in the bottom image. There's albatross migration which happens in the summer, onset of summer. They come down from the higher ups of the Brahmagiris and other mountain ranges of Western Ghats to the plains, and they breed there. So this is albatross migration depicted here. There are other migrations also. There are painted lady migration, which is a world's well-known migration, which happens every year. They migrate from the top to bottom of our country, from Himalayas to the Kanyakumaris and back. That's how painted lady behave. That's another story to tell someday. Painted lady migration is the longest distance migration that happens in our country, and not only in our country. It has been well studied in Europe also. It's a global butterfly which is present everywhere. Of course, there are other butterflies which do local migrations, like the common emigrants, the plain puffins, the spot swordtails, fiber swordtails, and painted swordtails. They also are known to migrate. Now, identification to our butterflies. So this identification of butterfly is a very specialized activity if we are looking at very similar butterflies. Otherwise, most of the butterflies, they are distinct from each other, and it is not that difficult to identify them. For a common man, it is not required to go deep into studying these identification keys. By observing for a few days or a few months, you will be able to basically come out with your judgment about which butterfly is that. Of course, there are various field guides and websites available to guide you to learn about how to identify butterflies. Now, basically, the butterfly wings are divided into various areas. You've got the base, the costa, the apex, the turban, and the tornus. And of course, there are veins in the wings, which are very specific, and they're all numbered. And for specialized identification purpose, these veins are used, and where a spot is there, where a spot is missing, and that makes a butterfly different from the other. Especially in blues, it is very difficult to distinguish them, even sometimes in skippers also. So you require specialized understanding and a lot of study and a lot of observation to distinguish between butterflies. Even with these identification marks on the hind wing, it is not always possible to identify a butterfly, especially in bush browns, where you need to check the branch of the wing. I'm not showing an image of the branch, since that amounts to handling a butterfly. I'm not into that handling a butterfly, because to catch a butterfly and open the branch and see, it's the job of a scientist, not of a common man. So we'll leave it at that point. So every butterfly has got a cell on the wing, and various areas called the basal area, the discal area, the post-discal area, and the tornus area, and the apical area. These are the various areas of a wing which are basically used for identification of butterfly. I'll go to another diagram which is more elaborate in nature. You can see the veins numbered, and these veins basically are going to help the identification process of a butterfly. And I will go into identification purpose shortly. For that, I will also require my graphics tablet to be connected. Give me a second. Okay. Now it is on. Okay. I will. Okay. Okay. So after this, we'll come to the next one. The largest and the smallest butterfly. As you know, the southern birdwing, or Sahyadri birdwing, is known to be the largest butterfly of our country. Recently, there was a paper published by from North in BioNotes that they have found a butterfly which is 194 millimeter long. That's with the wingspan, and the golden birdwing. Of course, I go by the fact that, generally speaking, we don't call a butterfly the largest because of one specimen. It can be a record, but in general, 99% cases, southern birdwing is the largest butterfly in our country. Okay, we have got other such birdwings in golden mount birdwing and the common birdwing found in India in the Himalayan regions, but still southern birdwing is the especially the female, which is the largest butterfly. And that way, why I say this, because I have found with this grass jewel, can you see the right corner? At right bottom is the smallest butterfly of country. But I have seen a tiny grass blue, which is basically because of the lack of proper food, they have grown kind of dwarfs, smaller than a grass jewel. That doesn't make it the smallest butterfly of our country, because in general, those abnormality or anomalies cannot be used for making a butterfly largest or a smallest in general terms. Now we have got some state butterflies also. You must be aware of the state butterflies. Kerala has declared the Malabar banded peacock. I am actually sorry, I've made it wrong. it is Malabar banded peacock, not the swallowtail. So Malabar banded peacock is the state butterfly of Kerala. The southern birdwing is the state butterfly of okay. So a big copy paste error is there because of this. Sorry, this is Sayadi birdwing. This it's called Sayadi birdwing, not Yemen. So there are two mistakes I have committed at the last moment. This slide was actually introduced at the end. The Tamil yeoman is the butterfly of the state butterfly of Tamil Nadu. The Uttarakhand has the state butterfly as the common peacock, not common banded peacock. Again, another mistake. So these are the mistakes committed by me. Sorry for that. Don't call it by the name which I have written here. I will correct it as soon as I finish this this particular presentation. Kerala is Malabar banded peacock, Karnataka is southern birdwing, Tamil Nadu is Tamil yeoman or the Sayadri yeoman, Maharashtra is blue mormon, Uttarakhand is common peacock, not the common banded peacock. And recently, they have Arunachal Pradesh has gone and they are going to actually declare the Kaisar-e Hind as their state butterflies. So other states are also in the process of, there are NGOs and there are enthusiasts who are actually going to and trying to get other states state butterflies. Now we come to the point where I begin identification of butterflies, common and not so common. So we'll go to the first the swallowtails family of the Papilionida family. We have got the largest butterfly of our country, the southern birdwing, Pteridus minos, the male and the female. The male, you can see that if I can just 1 minute, I will start. Okay. Now you can see that the female, there are black spots at the hind wing, which are missing in the male. The male doesn't have these black spots. So that makes the male different from the female. The females have the black spots on the hind wing, which are not present in the male. That's how the male is and the female are different from each other. It's very easy to identify and it will not be difficult for you in the field to distinguish between male and the female southern birdwing. Now, the Mormons and there are this is the slide. These are very distinctly different butterflies, which are basically the blue mormon and the lime swallowtail are the city butterflies. You can say they are found everywhere. Whereas the Malabar banded swallowtail, which is a Schedule 1 species as per the Wildlife Act 1972, which is a forest butterfly found in Western Ghats. So these are the swallowtails, which are distinctively different from any other butterfly, so they need not be compared with other butterflies. Next slide, I come to the roses. There are two roses found in the Peninsular India. One is the common rose, one is the crimson rose. They are red-bodied swallowtail. And sometimes you will try to find this common rose, and it turns out to be the common mormon female. I'll tell you how it is a common mormon female and how it is a common rose. So in the next slides, it will take you to that common mormon, which has got basically 3 forms. You see the crimson rose, their bodies are red. So this, if you see the near the eyes here, if you are seeing a closing shot, opening it, the opening shot it's easy, closing shot it's easy, but with the opening shot you have to see the eyes basically. Here it is red. If you find any red near the eyes, that makes it the common rose and the crimson rose, not the mormons. So I'll come to the next slide, which is basically the 2 swordtails found in the Western Ghats of the South India. One is a spot swordtail and one is a 5-bar swordtail. They are majestic butterflies. The spot swordtail is a dry area species, and the 5-bar swordtail is basically the Western Ghat area, the river forest area species. So spot swordtails are found in cities also, whereas 5-bar swordtails are found in the forest. So one is the city butterfly, outskirts of city, inside the city also they are found, and the 5-bar swordtails are found in the forest. Now the jays and blue bottles. Okay, so the common jay and tail jay are mostly commonly seen on our city, fluttering around on Polyalthia longifolia or Ashoka trees. And they breed on Ashoka trees. They breed on various other trees also. The Michaelis champaka tree they breed. And this is the blue bottle. Basically, the blue bottle sometimes resembles the common jay. Blue bottle basically is a forest species, and these two are the tail jay and the common jay are city and town dwellers. This blue bottle and common jay in the forest, because common jays are found in the forest also. Sometimes in the river areas where you go for watching butterflies, you'll see that some blue bottle like butterflies flying very fast around your in your shoes and in your sweaty body, because they will try to sit on your body to suck the salt. So when they sit, then only you will realize whether it's a common jay or a common blue bottle, because in flight they almost look the same. So please, when next time you go to Western Ghats or somewhere in any forest region, if you find these blue butterflies flying around you, it can either be a blue bottle or a common jay. We have got the tail jay also. Now there are 3 peacocks found in Western Ghats. One is the Paris peacock, the second one is the Malabar banded peacock, and third one is the common banded peacock. The Paris peacock and all the 3 peacocks are distinct. As you see from the bands on their forewing, the Paris peacock has a very thin band on the forewing. This is a very thin band on the forewing. And Malabar banded peacock is having a very thick greenish band on the forewing. Whereas this common banded peacock, which is a dry area species, which is having a narrowing band on the forewing, which is sometimes changes color because of the reflection from the light falling on the wing. Sometimes it looks green, sometimes blue. It is very good to see them when they are fluttering around you. They are very fast flyers, but they occasionally and often come to the river beds near the streams to suck water minerals from the salt. So that is the time you can check them. But whereas this Malabar banded peacock is not known to do that. They are canopy butterflies. They are found in Western Ghats. They are very fast flyers. And in this season, when this September and August, September, October, they breed all this breeding, and at that time you will see them on Clerodendron paniculatum and Clerodendron viscosum flowers. The pagoda flowers they're nectaring, and that is the time when you can photograph them. Otherwise, they're very difficult to photograph them. They're very fast flyers, especially the Malabar banded peacock. The 3 peacocks found in the Western Ghats. I come to the common mormon as I promised in the first screen. The common mormon. See on my left is the form Stichius, which mimics the common rose. The body is black. If you see near the eyes, you will be able to see there is no red here. Similarly, here it's a black body swallowtail. This form Romulus also, it mimics the crimson rose, and that is a mimicry. And you see that their body is black. And the common rose female form Cyrus, which basically it is not a mimic, but basically it resembles the male of the common mormon. Common mormon male form Cyrus is similar to the common mormon female Cyrus. So they look alike, except for the larger and deeper blue and the red spots on the hind wing. When you see the bigger spots on the hind wing, then you can come out with the fact that it can be a female common mormon form Cyrus. Okay. Otherwise, mostly this is not a very common form of common mormon. The Cyrus form mostly you will find Stichius and Romulus. This form is also there. Females, they have 3 forms. That is the very unique specialty of this very common butterfly. They breed on lemon trees, curry leaf trees. Sometimes you will find them fluttering around your house. And when you get a curry leaf from your market, that may contain some caterpillars of common mormon. That you be careful about that for next time. Now there are 2 very similar looking butterflies in basically the forests of Western Ghats. One is the common mime, and other one is the Malabar raven. They look almost similar in their flight and in their behavior, but when you see them very closely, when they sit, you see there is a spot on the forewing which is present on Malabar raven, which is missing from the common mind. And of course, in common mind, the hind wing, you can see some orange spots here. These orange spots are missing from the Malabar raven. And this common mime has got two forms, the Clytia form and the dissimilis form. The dissimilis form basically resembles the glassy tiger, and the common this common mime from the Clytia form basically resembles and mimics the common crow. Even the Malabar raven and common mime are Batesian mimics of common crow. They mimic the common crow to evade predation. They are palatable butterflies and they can be eaten up by birds. So to evade that, they show this mimicry. Even this this particular butterfly, which is the form dissimilis, which resembles the mimics the glassy tiger. I come to the so here I end the swallowtail family, and I'll go to the next family, which is the yellows and whites, or the pirate families. We have got two actually very common butterflies in the city. One is the common emigrant and was the mottled emigrant. They have the same behavior, the same, almost same food plants, and the caterpillars also look the same, but they are two distinct butterflies. The mottled emigrant has got mottles on the screen. These marks on the screen, that makes it a mottled emigrant. So this common emigrant, or the lemon, sometimes it's called lemon emigrant. It has got various forms of the female. They look orangish, and I'm not going to the details of the 6 forms of the common emigrant female. But you can easily make out it's the most common butterfly around you, the common emigrant or the lemon emigrant. Mottled is also as common as the common emigrant. They are generally a little smaller, and that is bluish white. When you see in the white, they look a bluish white, and you'll be easily generally smaller than the common emigrant. We have got 3 other butterflies in this particular category: the common albatross, the western striped albatross, and the chocolate albatross. The common albatross, the male, and the striped albatross male, they almost look the same with their hind wing, but in the striped albatross, when they, if you are you can see if you can see the open wing, you'll find at the apex of the forewing there are black streaks. There are black streaks which makes it different from the common albatross male. The females are very distinctive for both of the species, and you can easily distinguish them when you see in the field. For that you have to refer to some I Found Butterflies website, or you can refer to various books available how to distinguish a common albatross from a striped albatross. Chocolate albatross is unique, and colors are quite vibrant, and it is quite totally different from the other 2 albatrosses, and that's why it is very easy to identify them. But chocolate albatross is a forest butterfly. It is not found in your cities, whereas your striped and common albatross are occasionally seen in cities also. Now I come to the various tips. We have got the great orange tip, probably the largest of the pirates on my left. The great orange tip, it is a flying in the canopy, sometimes coming down to various flowers like zora and to nectar. You can see them nectaring in the morning hours. They come down and nectar. Otherwise, they are very fast flyer. We have got this is the city butterfly, but this crimson tip is basically a dry area scrub forest butterflies. They are also found in cities where there is a scrub forest or scrub areas are there. They breed on Candama fruticosa and Capparis family plants. The crimson tip is having the very bright crimson color and the apex of the forewing. You can see that. And the similar butterfly is this plain orange tip, which is similar, and they both breed on the same plant. Their caterpillars also look same, but when they grow a little bigger, you can distinguish them. So this is having a yellowish orange, and this is having a deep orange. There's a difference between the 2 butterflies. Otherwise, they stay together near their host plants. There's another butterfly which is very similar to them. That's called little orange tip, which is closer to the plain orange tip, but having a different pattern on their four-wing apex. The orange is reduced and distinct, but the female of the little orange tip, the plain orange tip, sometimes look almost the same. There are differences which are very technical in nature. I will not discuss that here. But we have got two more orange tips, the yellow orange tip and the white orange tip. As you can see, the white orange tip and the yellow orange tip both are having the orange or yellowish orange on the apex, but the body of the yellow orange tip is pale yellow, whereas the body of the base of the white orange tip is white. That makes it the yellow orange tip, and this one as the white orange tip. There's a difference between these orange tips. Next one, I come to the grass yellows. They are very confusing sometimes for a beginner, but no need to confuse after this slide. There is a common grass yellow. You can see that in common grass yellow, there are two spots here. This is a cell spot. So I'm not indicating this cell spot. So this is I'm not indicating, but I'm indicating this spot and this spot. So there are two spots in the four-wing cell. That makes it a common grass yellow. Whereas the three-spot grass yellow has got three spots. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. That makes it a three-spot grass yellow. And there is a small grass yellow which is very similar to the spotless grass yellow. But when you see very closely to the wing, there are two spots on the cell. There are two spots. This is one spot and this is another spot. So this is invariably present in all small grass yellows. But if you see this spotless grass yellow, which is almost looking like the small grass yellow, these spots are missing. There are no spots here. These two spots are missing. That makes it you may find that there is a spot here, but the second spot is missing. That this is a wedge season form of small, that is spotless grass yellow, and this is the small grass yellow. The dry season form is very distinctive. You can easily identify that. And there is that Nilgiri grass yellow, which is till now been misidentified as the one spot grass yellow. The difference is not that easy to understand because you have to be expert in seeing the four-wing. I can show you how it is this. So when you see this, when you see that there is the two lobes, one is reduced and in an angular position, that makes it a one spot, that is Nilgiri grass yellow. Whereas I don't have the proper image for one spot grass yellow, but they are like, these spots are more like the three spot grass yellow, where this got reduced, same size, almost the same size. Here in the four-wing of, how to see that? When you see the butterfly against the sun, if you take a photograph, then only you will be able to see the four-wing, the shadow of the four-wing, which is visible. Almost the dry season form is one spot grass yellow and the dry season form of Nilgiri grass yellow. They look almost the same. It's very difficult to identify. Till now we have been misled and we were not clear about the identification keys of Nilgiri grass yellow. But now papers have been published and life cycle has been studied, and now Nilgiri grass yellow is done for forever. There will be no confusion about the disidentification of Nilgiri grass yellow from the one spot grass yellow. Otherwise, they are found together in various same places in the Western Ghats from lower to a moderate heights of west. It is well distributed across the Western Ghats. These are the grass yellows. Of course, there is another yellow which is called the Nilgiri clouded yellow, which I am not talking about here. There are a lot of things I cannot cover in this particular slideshow. Now I come to the wanderers. This is the Indian wanderer, which is a city butterfly, and this is the dark wanderer, basically is a forest butterfly. You can see the vast difference. The band is so thick. The black band is so thick in case of in the marginal band in case of dark wanderer, which is very thin in case of your common Indian wanderer. The underwing is quite distinctive in case of Indian wanderer. It is very palish blue, and streaks go up to the margin, and these spots which are almost they look same, not much difference, but you can see this, the band is very prominent. This band is very prominent, which is not in the case of your the Indian wanderer. But it is a matter of how your eyes are trained to identify the two. Otherwise, when they sit, when you go to the forest, in the areas where dark wanderer is found, you will be able to identify them. But in the cities, all the other wanderers sitting this way are all Indian wanderers. The female, basically, it's a mimic, another mimic, which mimics the common the blue tiger or the striped tiger. You can see that, sorry, blue tiger. It mimics the blue tiger, and it's also it mimics the glassy tiger. Basically, when you see in the forest, in the field, the female of the common wanderer, you will find that they fly. Even some experts, they get confused when they see it from a distance. They feel that it's a blue tiger, but actually it's a wanderer female. So Indian wanderer female and male, they are distinctly different from each other. And you see that the male looks quite different from the female. That is the case of many butterflies, where we call them the sexually dimorphic. That means the male is different from the female. Now there are butterflies. You can see the common gull, pretty common in the city areas, and we have got the pioneer, which is another butterfly which is very common. But the distinctive feature of pioneer is the presence of a hockey stick like structure on the forewing. You can underside of the forewing, you can see that if the hockey stick is present, it's a pioneer. If it is absent, it's a common gull. The problem is, when you see the dry season form of both the species, it is very difficult for a newcomer to distinguish between a common gull and a pioneer. The example I'm giving you here, the lesser gull I have posted here. This is the wet season form and this is the dry season form. There's a vast difference in colors. They're totally different. The dry season form is having no yellow color in them. It becomes almost white and gray. So that makes a dry season form so different and diverse from the wet season form. We have got the large salvinarum. These two lesser gulls, and the lesser gull is they are forest butterfly in the Western Ghats, whereas the large salvinarum, which is found, and the small salvinarum, they are found in the drier arid regions of the southern India, especially near the scrub forest. They'll be found, and see the distinctively different. Large salvinarum is larger than the small salvinarum, and sometimes they coexist together in the same locality. See, the patterns are quite different in large salvinarum on the hind wing and the forewing from the small salvinarum. This is about the various yellows and whites and the Arabs. Now I come to the brush-footed butterflies. The brush-footed butterflies, as I told you, the males have basically, we see here, it is sitting on 4 legs. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is not using the 6 legs. As I told you, this brush-footed butterflies, the males especially, they have reduced set of 4 legs, which are not basically used for walking. Otherwise, other butterflies, other families, they have 6 legs and they walk on their 6 legs. This is the common nawab. Common nawab is having 1 apical spot here, and the anomalous nawab is having 2 apical spots here. One is this and one is this. So these 2 apical spots, they make it an anomalous nawab, and only presence of 1 apical spot or absence of 1 apical spot. Sometimes this spot is absent. So if their spot is not present, it's an Indian nawab. And if the 2 spots are present in anomalous nawab, both 2 spots are present. So what happens in south, especially in Bangalore, when we go to places like Savandurga, we find both the nawabs together. We find anomalous nawab as well as Indian nawab. Both the nawabs coexist in the same locality. Then we have got 2 forest butterflies. One forest butterfly, basically the tawny raja, which is a forest butterfly, and the black raja, which is a city butterfly. They are very commonly found in Bangalore, but unfortunately you will not be able to see them because they stay in the canopies. They breed basically in tamarind. Both of them breed on tamarind. These 2 breed on acacia. The Indian nawab and the anomalous nawab, they breed on acacia species, whereas the tawny raja and black raja are known to breed on tamarind tree. since they are canopy butterflies, it is very difficult to find them. They come, basically they are fond of the dead crab. When you see this black Raja is also feeding on a dead crab, and this Tawny Raja is also feeding on a dead crab. They are basically fond of feeding, extracting sap from dead, decaying flesh. This is the behavior of, and I'll tell you one very interesting thing. These Nawabs and Rajas, they never go to flowers. You'll not find them on the flowers. They are known not to go to flowers. They visit only on things like human excreta, decaying flesh, and things like that. These are the behaviors of Nawabs and Rajas which are found in. There's another Nawab, another Nawab found in Western Ghats, that is called the blue Nawab, which is very rare and a Schedule 1 species. Since I don't have a photograph, I'm not showing it. You can refer to various online material to look for the blue Nawab. Now I come to the barons. There are two barons found in Western Ghats commonly. Both are city dwellers. The third baron is the blue baron, which is photographed, has not been taken till now from Western Ghats. It's a very rare. We're still searching for that. The male and the females are sexually dimorphic. You can see having the female having white streaks on the discal area of the forewing, whereas the male doesn't have the white streaks here. So you can find that the distinct. Whereas the gaudy baron is quite different. The female is having a lot of white on it, and the male is not having those white sparkings on the forewing. This common baron breeds on mango. There was some, if you WhatsApp sharing of a common baron caterpillar being adjudged as a very poisonous insect. It was something WhatsApp forwards were coming last year. Now it has stopped because people have become familiar aware that this is not a harmful basically insect which will bite you and kill you. This is not like that. The very harmless caterpillars, common baron. And the female, this gaudy baron basically breeds on mistletoe or the honeysuckle or the Loranthus family. This is found in the cities, and they stay in the canopy because Loranthus grows high up in the canopy. Both these butterflies are known to come down for fruits. They are fond of sucking nectar from fruits. So when you see this baron is also sucking from fruit, and this gaudy baron is sucking from fruit. They are known to come down. And if you have fruit baits, if you can supply a regular dose of overripe fruits near your house, you'll find that within a few weeks or 1 or 2 days, maybe you'll find barons and gaudy barons coming down and enjoying your fruit bait. Then we have got the crows. We have got crows. We have got the common crow, the double-banded crow, the brown king crow. There's 3 crows here. And you see that the common crow, first of all, let me differentiate between the common crow and the brown king crow. See, in the cell area, there are no spots here, but there is a spot in the cell area of the common crow. The same is the case with the double-banded crow. There is a cell spot which is prominent and which is missing in the brown king crow. That is one major difference between a double-banded crow and the common crow from the brown king crow. And the next difference is between the common crow and the double-banded crow. When you have basically the closed wings, they say perch on closed wing, it will be very easy. You see this line of spots, the top line of spots on the post-discal band. It is incomplete in the case of common crow, and complete 3 spots are there in the 1 spot, 2 spot, and 3 spot. 3 spots are there in the double-banded crow, and only 1 spot is there in the case of common crow. Only 1 spot and 3 spots. When you see that, it will be easy for you to distinguish. Next time you go to the forest, or if you see the butterfly crow setting next to your in your backyard, you can easily now distinguish between a common crow from the double-banded crow by looking at the 3 spots here. There are 3 spots here, and there is 1 spot here. The base, there are 2 spots for both of them, but the total spots in a common crow here is 3, and in double-banded crow there are 5 spots. So look for the 5 spots, you'll find that is a double-banded crow, and there are 3 spots, makes it a common crow. Of course, the way they name double-banded crow comes from the presence of 2 brands on the forewing. For that, you need to take a photograph of of the open wing, when they're perching open wing, then it will be easy for you to make out that that's a double banded crow. Now I come to the tigers. We've got the blue tiger, the dark blue tiger, the glassy tiger, and the Nilgiri tiger. So these tigers, they are the bluish of the tigers, and there are reddish of the tigers. I'll come to the bluish tigers first, and then go to the reddish of the tigers. You see the difference between the dark blue tiger and the blue tiger. You have to just look at the cell of the hind wing, this area, and this area. You can see that in blue tiger, this notch is narrow, and dark blue tiger, this notch is wide open. This notch is wide open. So that makes it that's the simplest way to distinguish. Otherwise, the blue tiger is more whitish in nature. The dark blue tiger is more bluish in nature. Darkish blue and smaller than the blue tiger. Dark blue tiger is smaller than the blue tiger in general, and blue tiger is larger than the dark. They both migrate together. So in flight, it's very distinct, easy to differentiate because of the base color. It is more bluish, and this is more whitish. So, and if they are perching, if you take a photograph, you can see the fork here on the cell. This fork is wide open, and this fork is narrow. That makes it a difference between the blue tiger and the dark blue tiger. Whereas the glassy tiger, this cell is complete. Glassy tiger is not a city dweller. It is rarely found in cities, but in Western Ghats it's pretty common, and it comes and sits on plateau area along with blue tigers and dark blue tigers. And this notch is complete. This circle is complete. It's not as in see dark blue tiger and blue tiger. It is open ended, but this is closed. There is no opening here. There is no opening here. That is the difference between the glassy tiger, blue tiger, and dark blue tiger. The fourth tiger which is found in the Western Ghats is the Nilgiri tiger, which is found at the higher altitudes of Western Ghats, including maybe 30 under pole in Karnataka. It has been reported, and Western Ghats it is in Munnar, Chenab, all those higher, in Periyar, everywhere it is reported, the Nilgiri tiger. Even in Tenmala, we have found that at higher elevations. The higher elevation butterflies, they stay high up in the mountains. That's why they are called Nilgiri tiger. These are the four tigers, the black tigers and the blue tigers found in Western Ghats. Now that we come to the red one. We have got two more tigers which are there. One is called the plain tiger, and one is called the striped tiger. I have actually made them in a different slide because I wanted to show you that how plain tiger and the Danai deathfly, they are so similar to each other. But of course, the plain tiger and the Danai deathfly are totally different from each other. You see, if you look at the band here, the marginal band, which is more more ornamental than the plain tiger. Plain tiger is having a very plainish decoration in this hind wing marginal area, whereas that is very ornamental, and a lot of this is combined. Each pattern consists of 4 spots in Danai deathfly, whereas it is having a C-shaped or a D-shaped structure in there's the wave in the wavy structure in for the hind wing. You can see that it's very easy to distinguish between Danai deathfly and the plain tiger. Plain tiger basically are more common. They fly leisurely, and on near calotropes you can see them. But Danai deathfly, they stay in the ground, near the ground, because they breed near the ground where there is a host plant. Very tiny shoots will come up, and this Danai deathfly female will go and lay eggs on that. The striped tiger, basically another butterfly which is very commonly found. It's called the common tiger also, or African monarch. It resembles the American monarch by its looks, and it's been mimicked by a tailed palm fly female. The tailed palm fly female, which has the 4-wing pattern, very similar to there's a broken wing. I can see here a glimpse of the pattern, which is very similar to the striped tiger. So these two butterflies, the plain tiger and the striped tiger, they are also unpalatable, whereas these two, which are their models, and these two mimics, the Danai deathfly and the tailed palm fly, are the mimics of these two butterflies. So in the field, you have to be very careful while photographing which is what. They are commonly found in cities. All the four are present in the cities. The evening browns. This is common evening brown. I have given a wet season form photograph. Of course, there are dry season form where these spots are missing. This ocellis, we call them. The ocellis are missing in the dry season form, but there are several dry season forms. About 15 to 20 dry season forms are there where you can see I found butterflies page of common evening brown, and you can okay, internet connection unstable. Okay, it is correct. Now the common evening brown, this is they are diurnal butterflies, but they are found basically in the dusk and dawn. They are active during dusk and dawn. They breed on grasses. All three breed on grasses. The dark evening brown and the great evening brown, they are basically Western Ghats species. I can see the dark evening brown. They also have got various forms. The dry season form, the season form, and the notches are, these tails are they are unique tails, but it is not always very easy to distinguish between a dark from a gray. The tail is basically here. You can see the tail of this great evening brown, which is basically twisted tail, of course, and this four-wing notch is very deep. It is very deep in the, whereas in dark evening brown, the four-wing notch is that deep. Of course, these two are very difficult to distinguish when there are dry season forms, and various these forms actually make them very difficult to distinguish. Sometimes you have to catch it and get the open wing shot to distinguish between the great from the dark. But common evening brown is very easy to identify, and it is commonly found in the city areas. Every evening or morning you can see them near your lights. The three evening browns we have got a fourth evening brown. It's called the Travancore evening brown, which is a very it is found in the lower actually southern part of the Kerala and in the forest. So I'm not discussing that Travancore evening brown here. The pansies are very distinctive. They're very common, found everywhere in the city. All the six pansies are found in almost everywhere. So this here you can see the blue pansy and lemon pansy and yellow pansy. These three pansies, lemon pansy, blue pansy, and yellow pansy, they are dry area species, and they are found grasslands, and in the grassy area they will be flirting around. It's very difficult to photograph them. They will sit and go. Whereas the chocolate pansy is deciduous forest or a very evergreen forest butterfly. Of course, they are found in the city gardens also. The peacock and the grey pansy are found very near to the water bodies. They are fond of staying near the water bodies. You go to a lake or a pond near them, because their host plants are there. You can find them perching and flying around. These two pansies, grey and peacock pansy. Sometimes the peacock pansy is found in the city limits also, but grey is generally restricted to the water bodies, near the water bodies. The two egg flies are there. They are very similar to each other. One is called the Danite egg fly, one is called a great egg fly. So these egg flies, you can see that the Danite egg fly male and the female have the same underwing, but no, sorry, the Danite egg fly male is having a different underwing than the Danite egg fly female, and the color totally different. It is having black spots, egg-like structures. That's why egg-like structures on the forewing. Even these structures, sometimes in the field it is very difficult to distinguish between a Danite egg fly from a great egg fly. So you have to be very careful by looking at the marginal bands. There are some spots which is not very distinctive for my case, because this type of structure is visible, as you see in the forewing. You can the hind wing, you can see these structures. Similar structure is there, partially visible on the open wing, whereas there are no such markings on the marginal area of the open wing of a Danite egg fly. That makes them different. Of course, the base color also and the sheen, or the bluish sheen, is more prominent in great egg fly on this eye spots. These eye spots, these white spots, the bluish sheen is more prominent in great egg fly, and it is less prominent in the Danite egg fly. Of course, this Danite egg fly is a Schedule 1 species. The Schedule 1 species by the Wildlife Protection Act. Then we come to the rings. Rings. There is a common 3 ring. Whenever we count the rings of a ring, we don't count. We exclude this. This is excluded. And then we count these rings. 1, 2, and 3. That's why it makes it a common 3 ring. And in the common 4 ring, we have got 1, 2, 3, and 4. That makes it a common 4 ring. The common 5 ring has got basically 3 sets of 2. So that is basically 6 rings are there in the height ring of common 5 ring. This is 1 set, this is 2nd set, and this is 3rd set. The 1st set, 2nd set, and 3rd set. That makes it a common 5 ring. I don't know why it is called a common 5 ring, because we can see only for a common man, we can see 6 rings there. So common 5 ring actually has 6 rings. And these are the common rings. These 3 rings are common. The common 3 ring is found in the drier areas outside the city skirt. Common 4 ring is found in everywhere in the city. Where common 5 ring is found in cities which are basically located near the forests. So that's how common 5 ring is basically a forest butterfly, whereas common 4 ring and common 3 ring are city dwellers. They are dry area species, and this is this species which is common 4 ring is found everywhere. And there are 3 more rings which are not so common: the baby 5 ring, and the Palni 4 ring, and there is another 4 ring called the Nilgiri 4 ring. They look almost similar, but Palni 4 ring is having more darkish in pattern. Of course, they are having 4 rings: 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are 4 rings are there. And this baby 5 ring is different from a common 5 ring by looks. So you can see this particular 2 spots go straight. Their orientation is straight, and whereas in case of the common 5 ring, the orientation goes towards the rings. It goes the orientation that the tangent which you can draw from these 2 rings at the top. It goes straight, doesn't touch any other ring. Whereas the tangent of the common 5 ring, it basically touches the last ring here. If you draw a line dissecting the 2 spots at the top, here the 2 spots, if you dissect and draw a line, it will go straight. It will not touch the. Of course, baby 5 ring is not found very commonly in Western Ghats. It's found in higher altitudes of Munnar and Periyar, and even in Satara it has been reported. Maharashtra it is reported baby 5 ring. There's another 5 ring which is not so common. It's called a striated 5 ring because of the presence of striation on the body. There are striation on the body. Striation are marks. These are the striation on the body that makes it a striated 5 ring. Of course, there are 6 rings here. Orientation of the rings are not that same as the common 5 ring, so it is not that difficult to identify. You have to be very careful about the orientation of rings. Rings are not easy to identify for novices. It takes little bit of experience to distinguish them, but with keen observations and frequent observation, you'll be able to find them. First, you go and photograph them, and then you try to ID them. That is the basic idea. These are the 6 rings. Of course, there are other rings also. I will go to that rings. One is called the Sinhalese 5 ring, which has recently reported from Chinnar. The difference is this: all 6 rings are in the same line, a curve. There's a curve here that makes it a uniformly present. It's a common Sinhalese 5 ring. And of course, there is a white 4 ring where the basal area of the wings are having white. That's a white 4 ring. You can see the name. One is Sinhala and one is Cylonica. Almost they are pointing towards Sri Lanka. So Sinhala and Cylonica. But those 2 are found in this drier areas. Tamil Nadu is the homeland for these 2 butterflies. They have been reported from border areas of Kerala, which are adjoining Tamil Nadu, and of course in Tamil Nadu they are frequently found. Now these are the common butterflies which are found. Otherwise, there are not many butterflies. I am not going to go into details. In the city area, we can find out baronets, angle casters, common casters, the commanders, the leopards, the jokers, and the painted lady. These are they are found everywhere. But you have to have an eye for that. You can look for that. You can find them. If they are city butterflies, not very difficult to, but the joker is not found in Bangalore. It is found rarely in Bangalore. It's found in Bangalore, but not that common. But baronet, angle castor, commander, leopard, painted lady have been seen inside the city limits. Now there are some forest butterflies. I'm not going to the in depth of these blood-footed butterflies. There is a blue oak leaf. There's another butterfly called orange oak leaf, which is basically listed for the national butterfly also in the pole. Orange butterfly is found in Western Ghats, basically in the northern Western Ghats, where Bhimshankar Wildlife Sanctuary near Goa it has been reported. Otherwise, it is found in central India, in Pachmadi and Amarkantak, and beyond that Himalayan region, Narayan region, it is found everywhere. The orange oak leaf, but blue oak leaf is found in Western Ghats. It is pretty well basically distributed. The butterfly looks like a leaf in the closed wing, but open wing it is bluish, and you can distinctly see that butterfly in the forest. Map is found near the city, near the jungle streams. It looks like a map. That's why it's been named as map. The glad eye bush brown. Basically, it's a very unique and very pretty butterfly found in the forest area of Western Ghats. The cruiser, which is also a forest butterfly. The beaks, the club beak, we have got a lobe beak also, which is found in the Western Ghats, and the fertilary, which is found in the higher elevations of the Western Ghats. There is a Nilgiri fertilary and the Palni fertilary in south. Of course, if you go to north, central India, you can find the Indian fertilary or the tropical fertilary. These are the some butterflies. I'm not going into the details because they are unique. There is no difference with any. They don't. They are not similar to any other butterfly. That's now I come to the blues here. Some blues I'm going to show you, and after that I will take my questions. Almost 12:17 now. These very common blues around you, the common cerulean, the common pero, dark pero, dark grass blue, the gram blue, the lesser grass blue, the tiny grass blue. They are found near us everywhere in the city. You can, if you take a camera and go out and find the small blues, you'll find them. There's also lime blues, and I'm not covering all the blues because on 19th I've got a talk specifically dedicated on blues. Please join that. ROAR, Rajapalan is ROAR, Rajapalan is basically hosting that. And please look for the Facebook actually groups. You'll find that I'll be posting on my page also. There's a talk coming up on 19th. Basically dedicated on blues. I'll be discussing in deliberate identification of blues, how to distinguish between common blues which look similar. So I'm not going to go beyond that today for identification keys of blues. Now there are some uncommon blues around us. They are found in cities. The common silver line, the peacock royal, Indian sunbeam, slate flash, large oak blue, African bubble blue. They are found. They are near you. They are found near you, but you have to look for them. It's not easy to find them. Okay, so in the talk of blues, I'll be discussing more about the distinguishing these blues. And there are some forest blues, which are the angle sunbeam, the dark pero, the fluffy tits, the purple leaf blue, the large oak blue, and some African bubble blues. Of course, African bubble blues, I should have changed that because it is not that uncommon in the forest. It is found in cities also. So these are some blues, and I'm not going to go into skippers today because almost we are 1 hour, and skippers will be taken up by Dr. Kalesh Sadasivan. Look for the Facebook, that notification about skippers. A huge, wonderful talk is going to come up by Kalesh Sadasivan, Dr. Kalesh Sadasivan, who is an expert on skippers. I could have taken that, but it will take, if I cover those, blues and skippers, it will take 1 more hour. So I will not go beyond this. I've given you some identification keys of some nymphalids and papillonites and some pirates. So, and blues I will be taking on 19th. So you can, if a butterfly garden, if you want to have, you can plant this these plants, those plants you can have, and these will make your butterfly garden in your backyard full with butterflies. You can go and visit I Found Butterflies, and you can look for the nectar plants and host plants there. There's a big list of nectar plants and host plants you see locally, which is available there in your local area. And then You can plant that in your backyard, and you have a beautiful garden coming up in the near future for you, with lots of butterflies filtering around. Some of them will stay there, will not go anywhere. So thank you very much. I'll take questions now. Subhadra.
Thanks, Ashok. It has been like very useful for me, because I have been struggling with a lot of butterfly identification in my garden, and this has helped me quite a bit, and I hope it has helped others also. There is one question from Snigdha.
Okay.
Can the gulls and pioneers flock and migrate together?
Oh, very good question. Okay. So gulls and pioneers are known to migrate locally. In the season of their breeding season, they look for the newer host plants. So they migrate together. You know, the common gull lays single eggs under a leaf, but the pioneer lays multiple eggs. You know, a clutch of 30-40 eggs will be there for a pioneer. So pioneer needs more, nectar host plant for them, because they breed on Capparis. They are known to migrate, but not to that extent. They are found near the scrub areas, also in the cities. Also, both the butterflies. Local migrations are allowed possible, but they are not long distance migrants. Yes. More.
Thanks, Ashok. Yeah. So there are no other questions yet.
Somebody is raising hands.
So I'm just going to. I have allowed everybody to unmute themselves if they have any questions. So you can please go ahead, either unmute yourselves and ask your question, or you can write it in the chat box. I will read it out for Ashok. Okay, there is one more question which has Chandu is asking, which one evolved first, butterfly or moths?
Which one you?
Evolved. Which one evolved first, butterfly or moths?
Evolved first, then butterflies came. Butterflies are specialized moths only. As per the scientific studies, it has been found out that moths were primitive. They always existed, and from them the butterflies came. That's how the story goes. We do no one knows basically. Basically, it's another thing which is basically very difficult to perceive and understand which came first, because there are prehistoric some artifacts which shows butterflies also. Which came first, we don't know. But scientists say that the moths came later, first, and butterflies followed them.
Okay. Anu, you have a question?
Ashokda, that was very useful. All those ID comparisons which you gave for the different groups of butterflies. Will a recording of this be available somewhere later?
I have recorded it, Anu. So
okay.
Big Butterfly Month has got a YouTube channel. I had put in the link to that a while earlier. I will post it again in the chat now. So
okay.
This should be available there soon.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah. And another question, state-wise, can you tell the number of butterflies? Ooh.
Oh, that's state-wise butterflies. In Karnataka, we have measured about 321 species are in Karnataka. That I can tell you. Out of 342, 321 are recorded from Karnataka. We don't know. Karnataka is not as explored as Kerala has been. So still we need some people around the Western Ghats to explore, and not only Western Ghats, especially entire areas of Karnataka, Raichur, Bidar, and those Bellary and those areas should be explored. There are nobody working from those areas. We want people from there.
Okay, next question. Is there any distance master's program on butterfly studies?
BNHS conducts some such courses. We can contact BNHS. Of course, there are certification courses. I don't know about masters, because masters you have to take up zoology and all those measures. I'm not into that. I cannot answer this question properly. But there are certification courses about butterflies by BNHS. That is for sure. You can contact Dr. Raju Kasambe of BNHS for that.
Okay, thanks, Ashok. Why didn't butterflies adopt to night feeding when moths have adopted to day feeding? Chandu is asking.
Moths are adapted to
day feeding.
No, moths are nocturnal. Butterflies
Not
are,
all moths. There are a lot of day flying moths also.
I know, but that's how the evolution has taken place. It is something of a study. It is very difficult to speculate why it has happened.
Yeah.
Why man has come? Why who has come first? Why ape has come? Those sort of questions. It's very difficult to answer these questions. And it requires a lot of why there is a lot of things. Not only this, why a butterfly? There are two host plants near them, same host plants, but the butterfly will not lay eggs on one host plant and lay eggs on other host plant. It's also a matter of study. Both are same, having same water, same ground, same leaves, same flowers, and same family, same name. And they will not. Nectar plants are also selective. So they are very their senses are very high, and what they feel and how they feel, it is a matter of study. Researches are going on this.
How to watch butterflies without having a camera? I do not have a camera, but like butterflies. Anjali is telling.
See, it has happened that how butterflies study started. If you remember, it's a study which has been taking place since early 16th and 17th century. Before that also. And pharaohs also were having those Egyptian pharaohs also have butterflies in their all those pyramids. So butterfly observation through eyes, and then drawing it in your copy as it is. So that was the first hobby. People used to do it. Now cameras have become lazy. We don't draw butterflies anymore. I think Lenin is taking one to Lenin Raj is going to take up that meeting and on how to draw butterflies. So please inculcate the habit of maintaining a field diary and draw the butterflies. Put the colors and some prominent markings. After going through the books, I have seen a spot on Costa, I have seen a spot on base, and this kind. You try to draw a rough butterfly sketch. Remember it. That's how it has been done. That's how it has been done in the field. There were no cameras about 30-40 years from now. They're very costly, and one film camera, one shot, a bad exposure, and it's gone. So there is no photograph with you. It has DSLRs have made it very easy. So then you should have a mobile also do a very good photograph of butterflies. If you have a reasonable mobile with macro enabled mobile, about 15 to 20,000 rupees to spend, you go and take photographs. So even I have started taking photographs with mobile these days. I carry camera only in the fields, but near my house I use this mobile, and it's very pretty decent shots I get from this mobile.
Can you suggest a guidebook to identify butterflies? Sudeep is
there are quite a few books. The best book of Peninsular India, in matter of fact, is the book by Dr. Milind Thakre and Hemant Dogale. That's a coffee table book, The Butterflies of Western Ghat, covering everything, every aspect of Western Ghat butterflies. Nothing is left out. 99.9%, it is foolproof, containing everything.
Okay. Are there records of hybrid species in butterflies? Are there records of hybrid species in butterflies? Chandu is asking.
Wonderful. Hybridization of butterflies have been studied in various. Even Dr. Krishna Kunte's, he's having a paper of hybrid swallowtails. And hybridization of swallowtails, especially it is more common and it is done for swallowtails, especially the papillarids. And in Japan, hybrids are actually bred. They are created with artificial environment. They do it to sell those hybrid species as a kind of memento, and stuffed butterflies. On epoxy they mount it and sell it. So that's a business there. India, it is not allowed, and that kind of study, how to make hybrids, it's beyond my scope. How to tell about how they do it, but it is done. It is done professionally by experts in few countries where they breed and create hybrids. The hybrids do exist in nature, but for swallowtails, it is known for swallowtails. But other butterflies is not known, because if there is a interspecies mating about blues, we have not seen something coming out, something special. Nobody has recorded that.
Yeah. What is the best month to watch butterflies in South India?
The best months are basically these months from August end to it is July. Also, it starts. Good month starts. So July till November, we have very good months for butterfly watching in Karnataka. Very good months. This is the best month. September, October is going to be the best month.
What is the conservation status of butterflies in India?
Basically, there is no threat as such to butterflies because wildlife laws are very stringent, and we are not allowed to collect butterflies and sell them. Of course, some illegal trades do happen, but they are very negligible. People are very, very aware of these days, and with this kind of activities like Big Butterfly Month and many people who are basically photographing other forms of nature, they are coming towards observing butterflies, and they're getting a lot of satisfaction. Automatically, the youth with these kinds of talk shows and Facebook and social media awareness, butterfly watching has become a hobby to every child, especially with schools having proper education. They promote such kind of habits in children to watch wildlife near their house, backyard butterfly count, and all those things happen. That's how it is slowly. No butterflies are under threat. To be frank, the threat happens because of habitat destruction. But butterflies find their way. What has happened? I'll tell you. It has happened in Bangalore. I'm telling you an example. There was a butterfly which was reported 100 years back, more than 100 years back, in Bangalore only. That was called the lilac silverline. And in 2012, it was rediscovered by Nitin Ravikant from Hesarghatta. And now Hesarghatta, we are again trying to stop something happening which is not required in that area, because that is the only habitat, the stable habitat which is hosting this very, very rare butterfly, very fragile one, the lilac silverline. So that is one of the that is the only reason. Habitat destruction and the pollution, there are two factors and the greenhouse effect, which factors threatens the life of a butterfly. So they basically don't die, they change the location. They'll shift from one location to another. There is nothing called, we don't have extinct butterflies in India. Reports are rare, but they do exist. Everything exists, but in less quantity and in proper locations.
It is already 12:30, so I will just take one last question and we will close the session. Chandu is telling, my son asked this, which butterfly is the hardest to photograph for you, Ashok sir?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
I have learned the art of photographing everything almost. So see, with your experience, you know the behavior of butterfly. That's why now my behavioral study is very important. You know how far and what time they will allow you to go near them. So basically, if you talk about photographing, I have not photographed a few butterflies in Western Ghats. Out of 342, my checklist in Western Ghats in 10 years is 305. I have not photographed about 40 species, almost 40 species from Western Ghats till now, because they are very rare to find. They are canopy dwellers. They are found in very, very remote locations of Western Ghats. You have to go there, stay there, and if you're lucky, you'll catch them. I have seen them in flight, but I have not been able to photograph them. So it is, the list is there. The wish list is there, about 30-40 species in Western Ghats. It took me 10 years, but I'll tell you one thing, Subhadra. If I go to Northeast in 5 days, I'll complete 300 species.
Okay, fascinating. Thank you so much, sir, for this lovely talk. And I really learned a lot. Hope everybody else also enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Subhadra.
Thank you.
Yeah, please join Bangalore Butterfly Club if you wish to learn about butterflies. We are free. All education and support will be free of cost. Please join us.
Thank you.